Is recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I actually rise in support of the Improving Law Enforcement Officer Safety and Wellness Through Data Act. The law enforcement officers serve as our lifeline of defense against danger. With this bill, we will have an opportunity to equip the Department of Justice and Congress with very crucial information to better understand and enhance officer safety. Law enforcement officers deserve to return home safely to their families, knowing their well-being is truly a priority. Federal, state, local, and tribal officers face very long hours, immense pressure, and unpredictable dangers every day. And over time, the constant strain of the job can take a significant toll on their bodies and their minds. While there are some mental health resources currently available to our officers, there's still so much more that we can and we should be doing to ensure their wellness and most definitely their safety. By prioritizing data-driven approaches to officer safety and wellness, we can address systemic risks, reduce preventable tragedies, and build a stronger, more resilient law enforcement system. The goal is that the required report will provide us with the insight into the challenges our officers face and help us to understand the additional support that they need to remain physically and mentally safe. Federal law enforcement officers dedicate themselves to protecting our nation, to protecting our communities, and it is our responsibility in this body to ensure that they receive the protection that they deserve. Law enforcement officers face unparalleled risks every day, from physical violence to psychological traumas. According to the FBI, assaults against officers remain very, very high, with tens of thousands of them that are injured annually. Beyond the line of duty, officers experience higher rates of PTSD, depression, and suicide compared to the general population. Yet for too long, this body, Congress, has not done as much as we should to tackle these issues that they face. This bill requires the collection and analysis of critical data on attacks on officers, injuries that they suffer, their mental health challenges, and wellness program effectiveness. Without accurate data, we're fighting blind. By identifying trends such as the frequency of attacks on officers or gaps in mental health support, we can implement targeted solutions to keep our officers safe and to keep them healthy. Many officer fatalities and injuries are preventable with better training, better equipment, and better policies. For example, if data reveals that a significant number of injuries occurred during traffic stops, agencies can adopt safer tactics or deploy new technologies. If certain regions report higher rates of firearm-related fatalities, we can prioritize resources there. Officer suicide rates outpace line-of-duty deaths. And I want to say this again. Officer suicide rates outpace line-of-duty deaths, yet stigma and inadequate resources prevent many of them from seeking help. This bill will help us track mental health trends, evaluate the effectiveness of peer support programs, and expand access to counseling. Healthy officers are better officers. They're more effective officers, both for their own well-being and for the communities that they serve. When officers are safer and they're healthier and they're better supported, they're better equipped to serve with professionalism and with empathy. Our communities benefit when law enforcement agencies are operating using data to improve practices rather than reacting to crises. But the Improving Law Enforcement Officer Safety and Wellness Through Data Act isn't just about gathering data, and reporting statistics. It's about lives, and it's about public safety. It's about the officer who returns home safely to their family at night, the rookie who gets life-saving training, or the veteran who receives mental health care instead of suffering in silence. But if we are to realize any of these benefits, this bill must be the first step that we take, and definitely not the last. We must be prepared to act on the information that we get from these reports that come from this bill, much of which is already collected by the DOJ and other agencies. We must be prepared to provide tangible resources to our law enforcement, which I'm sure the reports will suggest that they need. As we observe National Police Week and talk about officer safety and wellness, I would be remiss if I did not call for the immediate restoration of hundreds of millions of dollars affecting nearly 40 states in public safety grant funding that the Department of Justice chose to abruptly terminate. Some of that canceled funding went to law enforcement training, support, and other critical resources, and more specifically, to addressing the health, the safety, and wellness of law enforcement. And as I have here, President Trump's 2026 budget would have devastating impact on public policy, $1 billion across 40 Department of Justice grant programs which support police departments and reduce violent crime, hate crime, and crime against women. That's been cut. $646 million from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for violence and terrorism. And I could go on and on and on, but I won't. These terminations include a grant totaled at over $8 million to the National Policing Institute, which assisted rural police departments and district attorneys' offices to pay for violent crime investigators and programs to combat child sex abuse. I also feel that it's necessary to mention once again, as the ranking member has, the plaque that we voted to hang in the Capitol more than 3 years ago to honor the countless officers who fought, and they died, to protect the lives of members of Congress, all of us in this body. Not only members of Congress, but staffers and other personnel, and to save our democracy on January 6, 2021. Hanging this plaque is the least that we could do to honor those that have fought and died and given their lives for us, this body. Hanging this plaque is required by law, a law that was passed. We passed the law over 3 years ago. Why is this plaque not up? That's a simple question. Why is this law being defied? That's a simple question. Many of those officers who have been left feeling ignored and betrayed by the very members of Congress, they stand outside every single day and they protect and they watch over us, and they feel betrayed. Many times they can't even look at us as we walk out the door because they feel betrayed. They fought to protect us on that day, January 6th. And yes, we still betray them. Former U.S. Capitol Police Sergeant Aquilino Gunnell recently told our staff, and I quote, "Trump is treating the rioters like they were the ones defending the Capitol," end quote. He went on to say of Trump, calling January 6th a day of love, end quote. He says that if that was a day of love, they almost loved me to death, end quote. If we really intend to support our officers, they should not be feeling this level of betrayal and disappointment in the government that they swore to defend and protect. Officers who put their lives on the line for us, they deserve better. Let me take a point of privilege to say, when I lost my son, Jordan, in Jacksonville, Florida, November 23, 2012, at a convenience store gas station by a man who never should have had a gun, that convenience store family, the owners, at least had the decency to put a plaque up in remembrance of my slain son, who was simply stopping to get some chewing gum as he was going from one mall to the next with his friends. They at least had the decency, and my son wasn't doing anything to protect the nation or protect members of Congress, but yet and still out of dignity and respect for someone that was slain unnecessarily, they at least had the decency to put a plaque up in remembrance of my son. We should no less do that for these folks that stand here every single day. They would take bullets for us. Let's do the right thing. Why would we not honor them? We can't say one thing that we want to serve and that we want to protect them and we want to make their lives better. American people are watching us. We can't say one thing and do another. They're depending on us. Let's do the right thing. Simply just put this plaque out for all of us, for their service to us and to this nation. While I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, I also urge them to do more than just collect data and request reports from other officials. Thank you, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlelady from Georgia reserves.